But I'm Jim Chisholm, and I'm the city manager for the city of Deltona. In this city, the elected mayor is ceremonial. He presides at the meeting and has, he runs the meeting itself. And in the city commission, he'll be the person that runs it, chairs it. It's not only the city manager, it's all the staff and the people you're going to meet over the next, month or so. We take information, prepare it for the agenda for the meetings, and the commission then takes executive action as may be required on each of those items. There are components that are controversial to some and others that aren't. We have many subjects to deal with. And let me just deal with one, because I know there's a lot of chat about this, the changing of the time and the start of the meeting for the public input. We did that on, about one meeting ago. I think it was the first one. And the whole idea is to bring to the commission in a business setting questions about the business, questions about the city as it relates to that business. And what we had, in my opinion, was a group of people who expressed their opinion about individuals and not the business of the city. And so I said, okay, we're not going to say you can't do that, because this is America. Everybody can have their opportunities. So we set up a period of time specifically for that purpose. If they want to talk about the moon or about the land or about the state of Florida, all that's wide open in that first 30 minutes. And then when you get to the business part of the city, we go through an agenda, and every action that the city commission takes receives public input. Somebody will make a motion, somebody will second it, and ask for public input. Is there anyone to make comments? And so the whole point of that structure is to be able to carry on a meeting, like a business, run it in a fashion that answers questions and at the same time makes decisions. So that is kind of the process that we have, and the meeting charter says we got to have one meeting a month. We generally have one meeting and sometimes two, but primarily one meeting and then one workshop is kind of the plan we want to get into. The hurricanes, the COVID, and everything you can think of as an excuse has changed that somewhat in the way that it goes forward. But we're going to advertise it weekly, so you'll know exactly what's going on in the week if you are subscribing to the services the city has. It'll tell you the meetings that are planned, the times, places, and dates. And the city commission, you have 7 people with 7 different lives, and they're serving the community. And it's not always possible to have 7 of those people together in those meetings because of their private life too. And we try to accommodate that when we can. So some of the changes we make are basically that. But the business of the city, if we don't have a business item to bring up and have an action on, we're not going to have a meeting. I don't want to go and sit. I don't want anyone just to go and sit and chat. We have too many things that are real big financially for the city that we're working on, and we'll get into some of that as we go through these classes. You're going to see what these projects are and what it's all about and who's doing what, and that's closer to what really happens than coming to a meeting. Coming to a meeting, we're making one decision to do something or not to do something, and then from that point, the ball gets handed off to a department head or someone who's responsible for that project, and then they move it forward through the process, abiding by all the purchasing rules that we have and the regulations we have to deal with on a specific item that comes through the city. So that gives you some idea. I'm just trying to touch on things I know that I've heard about and make sure you get a chance to see and talk to the staff. You will be able to do that. You'll have the department head will describe what he's doing in his job and the various services they provide. And they're going to, in some cases, show you things. In other cases, they won't be able to show it to you. They'll be able to show it on pictures because of the risk. There's a risk associated with some of the services we provide. Like, I'm speaking specifically of sewage plants operations and water plants and their operation. You get to see it. You may not get to see it as close as you would like to. But I don't think anybody's going to be too close to a digester that's operating, because you'll know what it is when you see it. So it'll be a fun thing, and I hope you view it that way. I hope we do a good job of explaining what happens and in the city's operations, and then if you have other questions, we're going to make it. In the end, we'll have a meeting where everybody gets to come and talk and eat and socialize a little bit. But at the same time, I hope at that point you can tell me I had a great time. I never knew that they did these things, and then there's things that you'll find and you say, hey, why don't you do something different? Why don't you ever thought of whatever? And that's an opportunity for us to get some input from you back to these department heads. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to take it and go do it, or they're not going to do it. It just means it's a good exchange of information, and it may be very helpful to us in doing our job. I tried to be broad but yet specific on some things. You may have questions, and I'm happy to entertain them.
Does anybody have a question? I'll come around with the mic. Oh, here you go, Ms. White.
All right, I have a few, but I'll start with some things you discussed here. The idea of the commission meeting is in a business setting to discuss business. 100% agree with that. However, it also includes the time for the people to talk to the representatives, not just on business matters, but other items. Right. Let's say they didn't get response via email. They don't get meetings. So their opportunity would be at the commission meetings. So my question, I guess I'm a little confused. If the plan is to go down to one meeting a month, what is the plan in handling citizens' comments, complaints, emails? Things of that nature.
Every day. We respond to emails every day about different subjects. Everybody has a different question many times that impacts them, and we're able to get the question to the right person and get an answer back to people.
Okay. Is there a process in place if perhaps they're not getting any responses?
For us, just if they'll respond back to our office, we'll make sure they get a response.
Thank you, Ms. White. I'm on my way. That's okay. I'm on my way. Cass.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
You say you want to go down to one commission meeting a month?
No. Let me rephrase that. Somebody took that as the suggestion.
Oh.
We're required to have one a month.
I see.
We have one every month, and then if there's a need for another one, we'll pick it up on a Monday that we don't have a workshop.
These commission meetings, they sometimes go on to like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. I would love to come to commission meetings and find out what's going on, but there's no way I can be here from 6 to 11. Yeah. So can you stop padding the agenda with so much stuff and just give us a few items that we can actually, get our minds wrapped around, and then we can go home and say what a wonderful city commission meeting that was?
You might take a look. Do you get a copy of the agenda for the meetings? Are you getting copies of the agenda for meetings? Okay, you don't have it today, but I meant when you want to find out about a meeting, or you want a list to get notified of the agenda for that meeting? Okay, there is a list. And there's some things you'll find out as you go through to do this, but there's no secret to that. We and the business part, and I maybe got a little confused. The public's participation is always a part of every decision the city makes, and issues that are not on the agenda. That first 30 minutes is a place for it to come up, and then what will happen. If it's an item, see, they normally don't take action on anything that's presented the night of the meeting. So if somebody presents something, then we have a chance to, put it together and to get a response back. And then in some cases, if it's somebody I'm a member of the YMCA, we got a meeting coming up, I want to invite everybody to it, then we can pick that up as the commission as a body can assist in getting that advertised.
I understand that, thank you, but the public comment is always at the end, and, that's late.
No,
My question was, can we just have shorter meetings?
well, I would love to, but let me just maybe you haven't seen. The public comment for the meeting is from 6 to 6:30. 6 to 6:30. And then any item that has an action on it, then there's public comment on that item during the meeting. Maybe I misunderstood, but that's... any other questions?
Any other questions? Well, we thank you, Mr. Chisholm, for coming out and visiting with us this morning. Can we give him a round of applause? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay, so my name is Suzette Cameron. You guys have received some emails from me once you signed in, and I'll be your host for the next 5 Thursdays. So I'd like to welcome you here today for the Deltona's First Citizens Academy. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, beautiful. And if it's your first time in this building, if you need a restroom, if you go out, first door on the right, the restrooms are there. Please feel free to come in and out as you need to. We will move through the programming today. Your agenda's in front of you, some nice little gifts and some snacks. I hope that you'll enjoy those. Here's how we would like to go with our programming. When the guest speaker is up here, they will present, and then I'll walk around with the mic so that they are recording this so that we can be heard on the recording. So again, we welcome you. We're excited you're here. And what I'd like to do is start with Maria and have you introduce yourself and maybe tell us how long you've been in the city of Deltona and why you're here. Just one word why you're here.
Okay.
You can hold it.
Well, I'm new to the city of Deltona. I moved last year in April. So I'm trying to find out as much as I can about the city. And hopefully it'll help me live in this community without issues or problems and that kind of thing.
Wonderful. We're glad you're here. And this is Gigi.
Hello, everybody. This is my mom. We moved here last year, and what she said, to get some information where we came from. We lived in a town, so this is different for us, so we're just trying to get as much information as possible.
Beautiful, and that's great because there's a lot of neat things happening here. You have a new city manager, you have a new deputy city manager. His name is Rick Carl. You want to raise your hand in the back there, Rick? Rick joined us about 2 months ago. I joined us about 4 months ago. I bring you about 20 years of experience. I worked for the city of Daytona Beach, the city of Port Orange, and now the city of Deltona. So it was really exciting for me this morning to talk with Zachary. Zachary is a graduate of which high school?
Volusia Online Learning.
Oh, Volusia Online Learning, and his interest is to go into city government, so that's why he sits before us today. So everybody has neat ideas why they're here. So we welcome you, and I'm going to go now to Mike.
Good morning. My name is Mike McCarty. I've lived in Deltona for 35 years. 1988, we had about 10,000 people. Now we're about 97,000 people. So I've been involved in Deltona for 35 years, off and on. I've worked for the Volusia School Board, not as a teacher, except that I'm now a substitute teacher for the past 10 years. I'm happily retired. So And I'm here mainly to just get more, a little bit more into what goes on inside the whole city, kind of, sort of. I worked with Parks and Recreation off and on for many years, and just want to see some of the business side, too.
Beautiful. Well, that's what's going to happen. And Ms. White.
So Brandy White, for those who don't know me. Hey. Let's see. I've been here my whole life, pretty much. I graduated Deltona High School, bought my first home here right after high school. Been here ever since. Raised all my kids here. My grandkids are here. So over 40 years here. I became more involved about 8 years ago, as I saw that it was my not only civic duty, but there was a need for community to get more involved. And I was really pushing for an academy, so I'm glad that there's one. So it'll be interesting. Thank you.
Well, welcome. All right, Zachary.
Hello, my name is Zachary Powell. I've been living in Deltona since I was born about 18 years ago, and I'm here to learn more about the operations of the city and more of the business side. And I do have an interest in city government, so it is very exciting that this program has been organized, and I'm very excited to be here.
Well, welcome. And this gentleman here is named Jim, and I've had the opportunity to meet him. So as citizens of this beautiful community, you get the opportunity to get involved with ordinances, and Jim has been a part of from the original creating a permit or a policy on chicken permits. So now we're actually going through the process to revisit it and update it and make some changes as our world continues to change. So Zachary, as you can see, there's a lot of ways to get involved with the city. Jim?
After that, I don't know what I got left to say. Thank you for the kind words.
I'm sure you'll find something to say.
Okay, thanks. As you said, my name is Jim Pescia. I moved here about 12 years ago, got involved with the city about 11 and a half years ago because I wanted backyard chickens. It took us a little bit of a while, but we did get them, and I've been hanging on ever since. Shortly after the chickens ordinance was approved, my wife got involved with the Deltona Community Gardens, and we've been working with that on and off. A couple of years ago, we stepped down due to our, shall we say, restricted activities with our age. And we turned the operation over to somebody else by the name of Troy Simkus. You may hear from him in a few seconds. But we've been going on and off ever since. We keep our fingers in the pot because we like to have a little bit of a say in what's going on in our community. We've met a lot of fine people while we've been here. Some of us are a little bit more outspoken than others, but everybody we've come across, I'm going to say, has been very favorable. Different opinions, different approaches, but always with an outlook to improve the city from their perspective, and more often than not, from all of ours. So that's kind of me.
Beautiful. And again, Jim has been to the city commission meetings to talk about the chickens and stuff. So, you know, another one, Zachary, you might want to talk to really get some history and some understanding of government. Troy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Troy Shimkus. As Jim mentioned, I do work with Deltona Strong, which is a nonprofit, and we do manage the Deltona Community Gardens that are down at Van Park. I moved to Deltona about 4 years ago, and it was my first home I ever bought, so I got involved with the city almost immediately. I'm here because I'm very interested in seeing all the new people that the city has hired in the last 6 months or so. It's been a lot of change, so I'm looking forward to meeting these new people. I've been working with the city in department heads for 4 years through my nonprofit and the gardens and things of that nature, but just like the opportunity to see all the new people and get to know them.
And how long have you been in town?
4 years.
4, okay, that's wonderful. I've been in Volusia County since 1977, so I do have an investment into the community, and 4 years of my career I worked over here at Daytona State on this campus, which allowed me to start getting involved with the city government here. So this is a beautiful community. We got people with 40 years. We have people that have lived here 18, 19 years. It's a great community. Scott?
Good morning. My name is Scott Bridges. We moved here in 2015 to be closer to the kids and the grandkids. And I'm basically here just to try and get an insight on, or a better insight on how the city operates.
Thank you for your service. Robert?
Yeah, we moved, my name's Robert Marchant, and we moved to Deltona about well over 30 years ago. I was a software analyst at Oracle Corporation, which I retired about 8 years ago, thank God. And years ago, I was involved with a neighborhood organization, or not haphazard, but we lived behind Campbell Park, and we got involved with a deal with, they were going to put up lights in Campbell Park. And I was against it because there was an owl family that lived right next to the park, and if the lights were on all night, they would shine in your window, and of course the birds would disappear. And I joined this particular agenda to find out why, who controls what, and to find out why they reneged on the agreement not to put lights in Campbell Park and have them lit up all night.
All right, well, thank you. All right, and Chaz, Kaz.
Hi, I'm Kaz Norwich. I've been here for 13 years. I have some really nice neighbors, and I'm just really not that happy with the way the development is happening here in Deltona. I think it could be managed a lot better, and I'm just here to find out who's doing what.
And beautiful, and at one of our visits, we will have the head of planning here, and that'll be a great opportunity to have that conversation. Stephanie.
Thank you. My name is Stephanie Conway. I have lived in Deltona most of my life, about 28 years. Oh my goodness. And when I was younger, I hated it here. I could not wait to leave. The recession in 2008 changed that plan, didn't pan out. And I've been stuck here ever since. Well, no. Basically, I mean, when I was younger, I couldn't wait to get out of Florida in general, but over the years, it's definitely grown on me. And I realized that community involvement is not a spectator sport. And being involved in education, I'm a teacher, I was an administrator for a little while at a private school, and just the more I learned, the more things that I could see that I thought, maybe somebody should change some of these things. And I'm basically here because I want to learn more about how things work and how positive change can be enacted in the community.
And thank you. And Connie, and I think this is Mom, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I'm Connie Conway. Moved the family here in 1995, so that I guess makes it 28 years. And I'm here. I'm really concerned about our lacking infrastructure, how development is just booming, and there's no the infrastructure and everything is not going to keep up with the amount of people that are moving here. Sorry. So I'm here just to learn about how things work.
And thank you. And Pamela.
Good morning. I'm Pamela Braun. My husband and I moved here about 5.5, 6 years ago from the city of Longwood. We are now retired. I've been to quite a few of the commission meetings over the last 3 years in Longwood. We were very active in our community when we moved there. It was called Wrongwood oftentimes in the media, so we're familiar with dysfunctional city governments and questionable leadership, which we seem to have here. Longwood's come a long way. I hope to stick around long enough to see Deltona on that same course. I do feel we have some dysfunctional leadership here, and the citizens are not well represented or listened to. I'm anxious to see how the city of Deltona runs, so I'm excited to be included in this group, and I, regardless of the outcome, continue to still be a part of it and see how I can impact it in a positive way. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pamela. And as we continue to unravel and get deeper behind the curtain and learn some interesting things, I'll tell you a little bit more about what I do here. 4 months ago when I was brought on, it's an interesting title. It's called Assistant to the City Manager, but what my tasks are is to work with the Building Department, the Code Compliance and Animal Control Division, and the CDBG Grant Housing area. So those 3 areas I get to work with each day. And throughout those different organizations, you'll see, or divisions, you'll see them through the course of these next days ahead. And you'll get to learn about the real neat things that they do for your communities and the wonders and the whys of when it comes to animals or anything like that. But we have a few extra minutes, and I wanted to see if Mr. Carroll would like, or Carl would like to come up and introduce himself real quick and tell you a little bit about his vision and what he's looking to do for the city of Deltona. I'll let you have that one. Thank you, Rick.
Well, good morning. I really can't tell you how proud I am of you all coming out here. I mean, this is such a big deal to do this. I know you were pushing this. And this is a really good thing. This is a really good thing because I go back 4 generations in Volusia County. My grandmother, Mary Carl, was considered the founder of Daytona State College. And my father was in the legislature, and the state senate was on the state Supreme Court. I practiced law here for a number of years, was general counsel of a software company. But I came back to the county attorney's office in 2004, was there for 6 years, and then I was recruited to run a new department, which is aviation and economic resources for the county. So I was the airport director for the Daytona Beach Airport, and I was also oversaw the economic development for the county. I did that for 12 years. So I was 18 years with the county. I was in the drop program and had to retire. So in 2021, I retired, got bored. So I went back to my old law firm of Cobb and Cole and was of counsel, practicing law and doing some things. I actually ran for the legislature for this district, ran against Webster Barnaby. And I'm a testament that you can have a cordial political environment, which is what I hope we can develop here. Webster Barnaby and I disagreed on a lot of things, but he never attacked me. I never attacked him. We just went on the issues. I was a Democrat, red wave, so I didn't win, obviously. But I learned a lot about the community, and I realized the potential that this community has if we deal with the infrastructure, if we manage the growth, if we just build a team, which Mr. Chisholm is doing, and have serious people in place as department directors and as employees, we can really do things. This community is just a jewel in the crown of the I-4 corridor. So responsible, good, solid management is what we want to have here, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And I didn't plan to come here. When Jerry Mays retired, I went to Mr. Chisholm. I've known for 20 years. I worked closely with him when he was city manager in Daytona Beach. He's one of the finest city managers, public administrators in the country. I've seen him operate, manage a lot of complicated things. Same way with our sheriff, Mike Chitwood. I work closely with him. I consider him a friend. So we've got some good stuff here, some good meat on the bones to work with. And so I asked Mr. Chisholm, I said, somebody I can help you with? I'm thinking maybe consult on strategic planning or something. He said, well, I need a deputy. And I said, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to do this, but my wife encouraged me to do it. So I'm here, I'm jumping in, and I don't do anything half-baked. I'm excited to be here. And I can tell you this program, we had a similar program in the county, and it opens your eyes when you actually see the complexities of what a water treatment plant is. For heaven's sakes, this is so complicated. We just take these things for granted. How complicated is it to get infrastructure? All the issues that we're dealing with here, a lot of it's because of the way the city started with the Mackle brothers back in the day, and then there's just been some missteps along the way. So a lot of what we're trying to do is to correct the past and be prepared for the future. And I welcome your input. I'm up on the second floor, the city manager's office. email me. It's rcarl, K-A-R-L, at deltonafl.gov, or come up, call the office, make an appointment. I'd love to meet with citizens that are engaged. I really appreciate it. And I hope we can empower you, to be involved, be engaged, because I think that's part of the problem that we've had, I've seen, growing up in politics. If the citizens don't feel empowered, if they're not being listened to, then you're going to have nasty meetings, and people are going to get up and complain. It's just common sense. So I think Mr. Chisholm is really trying to empower the citizens and build a good, solid team, and we'll be able to serve you and develop a sense of confidence in you as the citizens. So thank you for devoting this time. It really means a lot to me to see your faces out here. I've seen many of you at the city commission meetings, and I look forward to working with you. And again, I am here to serve you. If any questions, want to meet, talk about something, don't hesitate to let me know, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. We welcome you to the city, and we're glad you're here. So, again, we're getting ready to start with the city clerk's office. I'm going to bring Joyce up in just a second, but I wanted to give you just a quick snapshot of the remaining classes. Classes will be in here, but the second to the last class, we're actually going to take a field trip, but I will make sure that I brief you via email and the class before, but we are going to go out to one of our parks locations, and we are also going to go to one of our public works locations. You will have to get yourself there, but that's where class will start. But you will be well prepared as to when that class is coming up. And then our last class, I believe, is going to be really, really exciting, because we will finish up with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, who is our law enforcement, and our fire department, and then we'll wrap up in the parking lot with a static display of all kinds of really cool equipment. So it's going to be really exciting. So again, we welcome you. We're glad you're here. And at this time, I'd like to bring Joyce up. Joyce is our city clerk. She has been with the city for about 15.2 years or something, she was telling me this morning. I think she comes to us with about 16 years of city clerk oversight, I guess would be the best way to say it. And she's always doing the city commission meetings. She keeps us in line. And Joyce, I'm going to let her, she'll run her presentation. I'll be out here with the microphone. If you do have a question, please raise your hand. I'll come by. That way that we get it on the microphone. And there you go.
Sure, I'm ready. Morning, everybody. Again, I'm Joyce Raftery. I'm the city clerk for Deltona. I've been here about 15 and a half years.
It's hard to hear you, Joyce.
Is it on?
I think you got to hold it.
Is that better?
Yes,
Much
thank
better.
you.
Okay.
Can everybody hear?
We good?
Okay.
Good. All right, some history about the city clerk. Before there were mayors, town councils, town managers, there were town clerks. The municipal town clerk, along with the tax collector, are known as the oldest of public servants in local government. The title clerk, as we know it today, found its beginning back in 1272 AD in the history of Old London. The term clerk came from the Latin clericus and referred to one who could read, write, and who could therefore serve as a notary, secretary, an accountant, and recorder. It's a juggling act. So today, political scientist Professor William Bennett Monroe wrote, "No other office in the municipal service has so many contracts. It serves the mayor, the city council, the city manager, and all administrative departments without exception. All of them call upon it almost daily for some service or information. Its work is not spectacular, but it is demanding in versatility, alertness, accuracy, and there's no end to patience." Over the years, municipal clerks have become the hub of government, the direct link between the inhabitants of their community and their government. What we do as a clerk's office. We handle municipal elections. Let me go back. The roles and responsibilities during the elections for my office is pursuant to Florida Statute 99.061, parentheses 7, parentheses C. The filing officer is what I'm called. Usually the municipal clerk performs only a ministerial function in reviewing qualifying papers. In determining whether a candidate is qualified, the filing officer shall review the qualifying papers to determine whether all items required have been properly filed and whether each item is complete on its face, including where items that must be verified have been properly verified, such as like an oath or an affirmation, pursuant to Florida Statute 92.525, parentheses 1, parentheses A. The filing officer may not determine whether the content of the qualifying papers are accurate. So again, a question, can the clerk refuse a candidate's treasury report because he or she believes it's wrong? The answer is, any report that is deemed to be incomplete must be accepted on a conditional basis. The clerk has a ministerial function. The filing officer may not determine whether the contents of the qualifying papers are accurate. They're normally just distributed to the supervisor of elections, who handles it from there. I'm kind of the middleman. The city commission meetings. So the city clerk's office is responsible for agendas and minutes for those meetings. The purpose of an agenda is to give notice of public meetings, hearings, and workshops, and subject matter to be considered and to keep on track. The minutes of a meeting, the purpose is to provide clear, concise, coherent, and accurate summary of a meeting. Records, decisions, and actions made at a meeting. Minutes should be about what was done and not what was said. Can minutes show only motions and votes and no other information? Yes, minutes should tell what was done and not what was said. There are several different cities that do different types of minutes. There's action minutes, which is just motion and vote, nothing else. There's conversational minutes. There's verbatim minutes. We kind of are somewhere in between. Another duty of the clerk's office is we are the kind of coordinator of all the boards in the city. This is a list of just some of the boards. We have the William S. Harvey Scholarship Board, Affordable Housing, Firefighters Pension Board, Development Review, Planning and Zoning Board, and the CRA. So we maintain all the agendas and the minutes, the official agendas and minutes of all the boards. We collect and present applications to the commission for the appointment process and the filing of vacancies. We assist board secretaries and liaisons with bylaws, agenda creation, and changes to the board members. There we go. Does the city clerk appoint members to boards and committees? No, the city clerk presents the applications to the commission, who will then make those appointments. We also handle records management for the entire city and all the departments. Records management includes the planning, organizing, directing, controlling, and other activities that are needed to effectively create, maintain, access, and use an agency's records. Effective records management allows an agency to maintain and locate records from the time of creation or receipt to final disposition. How does the city determine the retention records for the city? How long do you keep them? Records must be maintained for at least the minimum amount of time recommended by the state of Florida General Records Schedule. A big part of my department is public records.
Joyce, can we go back for a second?
Yep.
So what is that time frame, records retention?
Every single document is different.
Different, okay.
Every single one. So it could be 5 calendar years, could be 3 calendar years, could be for let's say executive sessions, it could be until the lawsuit is over. You wouldn't be able to get those documents pertaining to that lawsuit until after that lawsuit's over. It really just depends. There are several different retention schedules. We have a general retention schedule, and then we have like a specific one for police. There's a specific one for fire. but every piece of paper has a different retention. It depends on what the state requires. And then if there's something that doesn't fall in there, we can go to the state and we can say, look, we have this document, it really doesn't fall into any of the other buckets. Can you give us a retention? They'll create one for you.
So is there someone within your department that manages them, or is that ultimately you?
I'm responsible for all of the records within the city. I do have a records manager who handles all the records, scans records, does all the retention. We send out forms when records are up for retention. We'll send out a form. We'll say, okay, these need to be disposed of. They've met the retention. Can we dispose of them? We get sign off on that. And then we go ahead and we can destroy those records. And we have somebody that comes and shreds all the records.
Okay, beautiful. Is Pamela, right? Pamela, you have a question. Is it about what she's talking about right now? Okay.
So as a citizen, and I'm interested in obtaining records, where would I find that information on what the time period is for maintaining those records? Where would I as a citizen go look so I would know, so that I could have a certain expectation there?
Anybody can go to the State of Florida General Records Schedule. If you Google that, the schedule will, website will come up, their website will come up. It's it'll have a PDF format, and they used to have Word, but I think it's different now. But you can pull up I believe it's the GS1-SL, and that is the general record schedule. That's the main one that we use. Again, there you'll see a list of others that police department, fire department, public works, Deltona Water. I think there's a couple of them for them too as well.
Great question.
Where was I? Okay, sunshine laws. Florida began its tradition of openness back in 1909 with the purpose of Chapter 119 of the Florida Statutes, or the Public Records Law. This law provides that any records made or received by any public agency in the course of its official business are available for inspection unless specifically exempted by the Florida legislature. Over the years, the definition of what constitutes public records has come to include not just traditional written documents, such as papers, maps, and books, but also tapes, photographs, film, sound recordings, and records stored in computers. Florida's Government of the Sunshine Law was enacted in 1967. Today, the Sunshine Law regarding open government can be found in Chapter 286 of the Florida Statutes. These statutes establish a basic right of access to most meetings of boards, commissions, and other governing bodies of state and local government agencies or authorities. Is an agency required to answer questions about its public records, and/or does an agency have to create a new record in response to a request for information? The statutory obligation of the custodian of public records is to provide access to or copies of public records at any reasonable time under reasonable conditions and under supervision by the custodian of the public records, provided that the required fees are paid. Florida statute, section 119.07, parentheses 1, parentheses A, and parentheses 4, however, a custodian is not required to give out information from the records of his or her office, and Florida statute does not mandate that an agency create new records in order to accommodate a request for information from the agency. Something kind of more behind the scenes that we do is codification. What is codification? Codification is the act, process, or result of arranging a systematic form of code. The reducing of unwritten customs or case law to statutory form. It is the process of consolidating general or permanent legislature, then organizing it into a code of ordinances with legislation organized by topic, title, and/or by department. So basically, every ordinance that we adopt gets codified, and it gets put in our book of code of ordinances as more of a chapter and verse versus every individual ordinance. It's basically put into like a book format. Where can you find Deltona's codified records? You can find this in Deltona's Code of Ordinances, and there is the email address for that. You can just go to municipal code. If you Google municipal code, you can go and you can literally look at any state, any city within that state. If they codify their ordinances, it will be on there, and you'll see everybody's. We also do legal ads for different ordinances, different projects. A publication in a newspaper printed or published periodically at least once a week, pertaining at least 25% of its words in the English language, available to the public generally for the publication of official or other notices, and customarily containing information of a public character or of interest or of value to the resident or owners of property in the county where published, or of interest or of value to the general public. So that's kind of the definition of the newspaper that you have to use. So if you had a newspaper that didn't qualify here, then you wouldn't use them to publish your advertisements. What's the purpose for our legal ads? To notify the community of any changes related to development, housing, budget, election, etc. The ad will also keep the public informed about how to participate in the issue that may affect them on a local level, like the date, time, and place of the meetings. So if there's a big project coming up, I would have placed an ad, would have told you the date and time of the commission meeting and what the project actually is. Would have had the title of the ordinance in the ad. Recorded documents. All documents that need to be recorded are sent to the city clerk's office. Recording is the act of putting a document into official county records, especially for real estate and property transactions, that provides a traceable chain of title. Some of the examples are financial, which would be like ship mortgages and liens. We've got property documents that are recorded, like development orders, restrictive covenants, performance bonds. We also have some agreements, like the development agreements, the property agreements, easement agreements, or interlocal agreements. They all get recorded. Common question we get is, does the city clerk record marriages, marriage licenses, property deeds, and citations? And we do not. That would be Volusia County. These types of records are recorded and maintained at the DeLand Courthouse by the clerk of the court. My office also handles any income and outgoing mail and deliveries, whether it's FedEx, UPS. The city clerk's department is responsible for accepting mail and deliveries for all departments throughout the city.
Joyce, how big is your department?
My department is 5 people. I have 4 in my office. I have 2 part-time, which are the receptionists.
Would you tell us the structure?
I am the city clerk, my deputy city clerk over there in the corner, Elizabeth Keys, and then I have an executive assistant who is Bridget Ludlow. Sometimes you'll see her working over there in that corner for workshops. And then we have Jason Bogaz, I believe is his last name. He's new to my department, and he handles all the records management and that kind of stuff. And then, of course, I have Doug Shippey, who's out here at the main lobby. He's part-time receptionist. And then I have Janet Day, who's upstairs on the other end of the building, who's part-time as a receptionist.
Wow. So there's a lot of things that happen in your department. What would you say is probably one of the most demanding parts of the city clerk's office?
Probably public records and doing agendas and minutes and commission related, putting together the agendas. That takes weeks to do with all the department's help, obviously.
Probably because of a lot of the time sensitivity, correct?
Right.
And when you were talking about public notices, what could happen if we didn't publicly notice a matter?
Then we wouldn't be able to have a meeting with that topic on there. We wouldn't be able to discuss it. We have to have it per the statutes.
Okay. Has that ever happened in your 17, 18 years?
Not that I recall. We have had, and those of you who come to the meetings, we all know that lately a lot of the items have been tabled or continued. And when they do that, we have to do another ad, let everybody know in some cases, some of the projects also require a mail out of a 300-foot radius. Well, we also do the mail out, the certified mail for that. So now I'm doing it again if it's tabled or continued to another meeting. And I have to have time to do that advertisement.
Okay, awesome. Okay, question, Ms. White?
All right, so you actually asked some of mine was the current staff size. Do you currently have any open positions?
No.
So you're full at 5?
Fully at 5,
Do you feel that's an adequate size for the amount of responsibilities that your office has?
When I first came, I had 7 total, but 3 of them were receptionists, and they were full-time positions. So right now, I've gone through numerous staff members. The staff that I have now, I feel that we got a pretty good handle on it.
And so then my last question is, do you see areas where improvements could be made to make it more efficient and effective
Always.
for your department, such as making them a process where some records just are automatically online, so you don't have to worry about that public record request coming in. They can go look for themselves online. Similar to, I believe it's the Volusia County School Board. You could pretty much find anything online regarding them. You don't need a public records request. So do you feel that that suggestion has been made, or do you feel that's even coming down the line? Because I know we talked about it about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
And it was made, no, okay, we're going to move forward with this process, but then your staff actually got less.
Right.
So,
Yeah. My issue I have no issue putting all the records public. You know, they're your records. They're not mine. When it comes to public records, the records that I can put publicly, like all the ordinances, all the resolutions, agendas, minutes, all those things, they don't need redaction. I don't need to second guess it. I just put them public. The stuff that people ask for the most part, that they ask for during public records, they're not as easy. They need to be reviewed. They need to, so like I'm not going to put those out there. But yes, I always feel like there's room for improvement. I always feel like there's more that we can do as a team to get more information out there, our database, like you said, where we can have records where you can just skim through them and you can review them and do your own research. So that is a goal.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And in the departments that I work with, Joyce's office is constantly sending certain managers information, and that's how she gets the data. She'll reach out to the building department and to the front end manager and say, we have this records request, and it's the duty of that manager to get that in a timely manner to Joyce's office. So when you think about her staffing, you also got to realize it tentacles out. Correct. Because a lot of that research is done by the divisions and the departments. Correct. Which is a great support system. Right. So good question. That was.
I don't have access to all the records.
That's right. That is correct.
People think that it's just at my fingertips, and they're not. When we get the request, we have to figure out, okay, who could have this? And sometimes I'll send it out to every single department because I'm just not sure. And at least I get a response from everybody that I sent it to, and then I'll know for sure. And they'll say how long it took them, how many pieces of paper, which is how I come up with my estimate.
Beautiful. Troy?
Hey, thanks, Joyce. You had mentioned that minutes are meant to be on what happened, not what was said, which was a new piece of information to me. I had in my brain, I thought minutes were verbatim always, because that's my brain. Are you able to then take advantage of transcription software that can take our meeting recordings and automatically transcribe them so that those meeting minutes could be more accessible and searchable?
I tried that many, many years ago, and it's never accurate, and we would literally have to have someone sit in front of that video and read, along with that transcription and change it, and it's just as much time as it would be to do the minutes themselves.
I would encourage you to maybe look again. The industry has changed drastically, especially with AI in the last 3 years, and there are a lot of new tools that I've been using them in other industries, and they do remarkably better jobs, where the only thing you would have to do, or someone would have to do, would be to go through and add a person's name of who said it. So a lot less work, still work, honestly, but I think worth exploring again. And then you had also mentioned that your office is not required to create records. And I just want to say, I think that's something that could be maybe explained a little more to the public in general. I think people don't understand. I didn't understand when I first got here that if I had asked for a count of this, or a summary of these numbers or whatever, if that did not already exist in some form, then it wouldn't be created. So I think that's a confusion point that some people might have, at least in the community, when they ask for stuff.
So if I create, just as an example, if I create a record because you asked for it, now that say it's one piece of paper, that one piece of paper has to be kept now for whatever the retention is. is. So I may have to keep that one piece of paper because I created it solely for you and no other purpose. I have to keep that now for 5 years. And if I do it for one, I'm going to do it for all. So we tend to not have as many records for us to, maintain and just give you what we have. I would tell you, if you're going to do a public records request, please be as specific as possible with your public records request. The broader you are, the more confused staff gets, the higher your estimate's going to be. If you know what you're looking for, ask for what you're looking for.
Joyce, that brings up a good point. There's a cost. Would you reference the cost, please?
So the cost for public records is based off Florida statutes. The commission back several years ago, I can tell you it was Commissioner Honaker at the time who brought it up, said that anybody that touches a public record, their staff time is included. And I think part of the reason for that is he used to work for my office and he knows the time that goes into these public records. So it's 15 cents a page, 20 cents if it's double-sided. Your first 15 minutes of the public records request is free. We do it for nothing. Again, what we do is we send it out to that department. If they say, okay, it took, Mary 5 minutes to collect 30 pages, then you're going to get Mary's salary at 5 minutes. And then you're going to get the either electronic cost, which is nothing, obviously. We'll email it through the portal, or the paper cost, if that's what you choose, and that would be the 15 cents or 20 cents per page. But it's the actual cost to duplicate the request.
Okay, I think we have one more question here.
So one of the concerns I have is you mentioned that you're the custodian of records, yet you don't have the records.
They're not all in my office.
Well, correct, but yeah. I think you should readily have access as the custodian, because if I want to get a record, I should be able to come to you or your staff, and you have access to that record without it going through 15 hands and costing me $50 in staff time that they're already being paid because they're at work. So to me, it's a little concerning. I've seen the process change. I've seen the increase in cost, and I feel that it's been done purposely to inflate the cost, because it shouldn't go through 50 hands to get a response. You shouldn't be having to ask 15 department heads, to be honest. You, as the custodian, should know exactly where those records are and have access to those records, and that's how I see the Florida statute is written. So is there any intention on relooking at the process of how it's morphed over the 8 years and look at any changes coming up?
I don't have access to everybody's software system. I'm not familiar with everybody's software systems that they use. Like I said, every department has their own records. They know best where those records are, and because of that, it shouldn't take them long to go and get that record that we've asked for and get it to me in a timely manner. When we send out the public records request to the departments that we send them to, they have a 2-day time frame to get back to me, and then they get a reminder, and then they keep getting that reminder. Look, you need to get this back to me. So there's got to be some accountability, with the other departments.
Can I jump in? So for example, again, it comes out of Joyce's office. It comes down to the shop that I work with in the building department. Let's just say somebody needs a roof permit, inspection, processing, and all that for their insurance company. Again, she mentions she doesn't live in our database in the building department, so we have to, take that time to dive into we have many databases, to dive into it, extract it, send it back up. And it can be, and it has to be done timely, and that's what we do. And that's why we work together. So ultimately, yes, she's the custodian. She comes to us, and it tentacles out, and we return it back to her. But great questions. I think we're ready to wrap up with Joyce. Let's give her a round of applause. We thank you for being here today, Joyce.
Thank you.
I know it helped me in... I'm going to put Zachary on the spot before you leave, because Zachary is new to learning about city government, and I want to see, what's a takeaway that you have today?
Okay. I did realize, there's a lot more complications, especially in the city clerk department, and I didn't really realize how much it varied city to city, and I was quite interested in how it works in Deltona, so.
Okay. And beautiful, and that's a great observation because, again, there's rules and regulations and guidelines, but there's also different management styles. And the city of Deltona has been through a lot of interesting administrations. Yep. And we're under a new administration right now, and we're working through it. We're learning it, but we also got to understand, whether it be city clerk, code, building, or whatever, we have guidelines, we have rules, we have code books. We've got to hold them to the force. That's what we stand behind. That's what I work with the staff I get to work with, is say, go by the book, you got no problem. So we'll continue to unravel that, and we thank you, Joyce, and you have a beautiful day.
Have a good day.
Thank you. So I hope you had a good few minutes break, maybe chatted it up with a neighbor, and I've had some good conversations up here because, you know, there's great things. Again, we're the employees, you're the community members. We need to give a big hug and get together and get it all figured out for this amazing place. So now we're going to go into talking about our public information office and the TV station, and we have Catherine. She's going to come up and entertain you a little bit with the great things that are happening in her division. Come on down, Kat.
Hi, I'm Catherine Barker, as she said, the Public Information Officer for the City of Deltona, PIO. There's myself and 3 other people in the department. We all kind of have our expertise, but essentially, I mean, that's what I do, though, is information. I try to give information to the citizens of Deltona on behalf of the city. So that's you know, our department's main priority. I realize that people get information different ways, so I kind of cast a wide net when I release information. A lot of people use social media, so we're very prominent on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So we put everything there. We have our DTV, Deltona Television station, that we put information out on. I've created, and I think you all have one at your table there, is a city manager report to tell people what the city is up to. If it's a big issue, I'll reach out to the local media to give them the information so that maybe that's the story that they'll pick up on. I used to work actually in the media. I'm fairly new to the city. I've only been here about 5 months. My background is local media, and so I always kind of know what they're looking for, what might kind of attract their attention and to pursue a story. So I'll reach out to them. A recent example of that is last month we held a I guess, flood mitigation workshop for the citizens. There's a lot of federal money available to help people who have experienced flooding on their property. And so we held a workshop to educate inform the residents about, whether they want to pursue it or not. That's obviously up to them, but the opportunities that are out there. And that's actually on our DTV schedule back there. That's what's airing right now. So that's part of DTV is we'll record like this workshop right here. The Citizens Academy is being recorded, and we are going to re-air it for people who weren't able to be here today. And so, when we do these things, it's not just in the moment. We will record them and put them out there so that other people can see them. You can re-watch it if you wanted to pick something else up. But kind of like circling back for like the hurricane workshop that we held, the flood mitigation workshop that we held, there's a lot of things that we did leading up to that. I'm going to give a few props to some people, some people in the department. Gary, our assistant PIO / production manager, he created this great little video. I really liked it just because it was animated and just really simplifying. There it is. Just really simplifying what the programs are, what's available, and then advertising that we're holding this workshop. I also reached out to the local media to let them know about it, because as we're obviously just entered hurricane season again, I knew that they were looking to do, oh, we're in hurricane season, and kind of like a look back at, the awfulness that was last year. And so I knew that they would, might be interested in a story like that. And even now, all that money is still available, and we are really trying to reach out as the city to the residents who were most affected by the storm last year. That these programs do exist, and so I've called all the local reporters and say, hey, I've got a great story for you. We've got all this money. It's available to the residents. I know they always want to talk to a real person. I have some residents who are willing to talk to you about their situation. So that's kind of what I do. I just kind of use everything I can to get the information out there, whatever means is necessary. Like, for example, the city manager report. I'm at all the city commission meetings, and I'm taking notes to what residents may bring up, what the commissioners may bring up, just things that I think, what I see on social media, what people are talking about. For instance, I always go to our planning department because they are always doing something. So I always make sure I talk to them. I'll go and sit down in their office, talk with them, what's going on. But one of the things that always stands out to me is I'll see people, on Facebook writing about, hey, what are they building next to the Burger King on Holland and Graves? And I know it's a Starbucks. So, and I know people are asking about it. So in the city manager report, hey, Deltona Village is coming along. Starbucks is under creation. The first Starbucks in Deltona, fantastic. So I'll write about that. Or I know that traffic concerns have been brought up in city commission meetings. So I know that our public works department they've taken, I don't know if I've got the term right, but like traffic monitors, the traffic division traffic monitors, so they can see how fast people are going, how much traffic is going there, and then they can compile that information. And is it a law enforcement issue? Is it an issue with, things need to be reorganized? So it's like I try to take things that people are concerned about, have raised concerns about, have questions about, and then I try to get some information on there, what the city is doing about it, so that people can see what the city is doing. Because that's what I want to do. I want to show you guys what we're doing. It's even when I talk to individual departments about what they're doing, so that I could put it, in the city manager report. That's another thing I wanted to mention, because it's not only on paper. Ruben, see, props to everybody. Ruben actually goes to the different departments and talks to them, so that it's digital as well. So if you don't get your hands on a copy of it, you can still see it. Again, we post it to Facebook. We program it into the DTV schedule. So that, again, just trying to get the information to as many people as we can. Just lost my train of thought. But yeah, so really, I really just want to show you guys what we're doing. Sometimes when I go down to sit down with the different departments, to them, that's just their course of work. This is what we do every day. To them, it's not a big deal. But I'm like, but the residents want to know what you're doing. And so that's what I want to do. And I've been working with the city manager and Rick Carl about some of the priority projects for the city. Because what I would like to do, that's one of the things that's on my list of things to do, is like, I want to go out with them. I want to show them on the scene of certain, whatever those projects may be, to say, hey, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is how it's going to benefit the residents of Deltona. So my purpose really is, I just want to share what we're doing, because a lot of people are doing a lot of things, and I think sometimes the residents don't see that, and so that's my purpose, is I want you to see what they're doing.
So, Kat, let me ask you, or let me say this, I guess. Just like in Joyce's office, you really can't do your job without tentacling out to the departments.
Precisely. Similar to Joyce, where people will ask me for information. I don't necessarily have that information. What I will do, I will go to the specific department that it might, regard to, and then I will get that information, and then I will get back to whomever asked me, whether it's the media or a resident or whatnot. So I go to the source, and then I give them the information.
Right, and that's a big help to the departments. And just like this program here, I was challenged with, let's do a Citizens Academy, okay. So I put together the outline, then I had to go to her office to say, now how do we get it out there? Because I'm not that person that lives virtually or knows how to market it. So then Kat's team goes, okay, what are you doing? How are we doing it? And then she markets it, and within a day and a half, this class was full.
Exactly. So what we did, and our other member who's not here right now is Adeline. She's fantastic at making little flyers. There's a bunch of those in the city manager's report, because it's the intent just to get the information, whether it's flag football or basketball leagues or whatnot. We want the residents to know about it. So for like this event, we made a flyer, posted it, had a sign up, people could sign up. You guys were the ones who signed up first, because I know we did have to turn some people away. And put it on DTV, put it everywhere we can so that people will know about it.
And hopefully, Kat, in the future, would it be possible that you and I have had some conversations where maybe, like, for example, our animal control area is pretty neat and pretty intense, and they do some really interesting things. So I had approached Kat to say, hey, could we do, a quick clip on some animal control issues and matters? And I'm hoping that we head down the future of that so that it can be shown on DTV.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for new ideas. Again, I want DTV to be more than just a replay of meetings that we do. I want it to be interesting content that the city is doing. I know, like, for one of the animal control stories that really got me, and I actually put in the city's manager report, people kind of laughed at me, but I'm like, people love this stuff. But it was I think it was a sandhill crane.
Correct.
For whatever reason was injured, had a beak issue, and so our animal control officers had been trying to capture it to get it to a rehab facility so that, to nurse it back to health. And so I thought, at one point they were talking about putting a 3D beak on it to help it. That turned out not to work for the bird, but they were actually able to capture it. They did get it the help that it needed. Bonnie and Clyde are now happily flying around Deltona, so that's fantastic. But I love that stuff because I know that people love animals and they like to hear those stories. So I try to find little things like that too. Maybe not the biggest thing in the world, but I think they're interesting.
Right. Well, it brings balance because you give the heavy stuff and then you give some of the nice lighthearted stuff. And it really shows how dedicated our employees are, too, because the animal staff, they were just beside themselves trying to get this bird captured or whatever they needed to do to try to get this beak situation. And now, again, everything worked out perfect. Yep. So what else? Any questions? You think about public information, you think about the TV station. Come on, somebody got a question? Mike, Robert, somebody, Troy, somebody? All right, let's do it.
Hey, so welcome to Deltona. I was excited to see that we had a PIO, a few months back, so that was great. Nice to finally meet you face to face. So social media is a challenge, and in general, Deltona has had a huge challenge with getting the word out, getting people informed. And as I work with different organizations in the city, my nonprofit included, we always have that struggle of how do I reach people? I think a lot of that stems from a general misunderstanding of how Facebook works, and what the Facebook and social algorithms choose to show people is not what they might expect them to be shown. So, for instance, you can put a post on the city's page. There's no guarantee that everyone in this room is going to see it unless we happen to log in at a certain time within a certain, all these criteria had to be met for us to see your post. So I'm curious what your strategy is, whether it's all social, a mix of social. How do you intend to engage with more people? And specifically, if you look at the following numbers, like there's only 300 people following your YouTube channel, like how are we going to increase those numbers to get more people?
Well, I guess that's why we, I call it casting a wide net. So everything we put on social media, we also put it on our website. So all that information's there. If there's something that we're really trying to get out, we'll pay a little fee, Facebook to boost it or whatnot. For instance, we had a housing fair here a couple months ago, and it was help for the citizens who might, have questions about, how do I get a mortgage or affordable housing or, just, a lot of good information for that. And so we wanted to make sure that reached as many people as we could. So, we did pay to boost that on Facebook so that'd get out there a little bit more. I reached out to the surrounding cities to see because I know people follow more than one Facebook, one social media site. So I reached out to them. They helped share it so that, it's just, you throw darts to try to reach as many people as you can.
So, Kat, what's your strategy for people like me that don't live in Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that? How are we reaching our community?
Well, that's why everything that we produce is placed on our website. So you can always go to our website to find anything that we've ever done. We'll put a lot of that content on the DTV channel, if you'd rather watch television. Like I said, if it's a really big situation, like with hurricane, relief and whatnot, I'll reach out to the local media to see if they might be interested in doing a story. Because obviously more people are watching like an NBC than they are DTV. So.
And you keep the city manager's newsletter
I keep that out there.
Out in the lobby.
If anybody comes in and wants to grab one, I try to make sure that that's always stocked.
That's good. That's good. Brandy?
There's also an email list you can sign up for and get a bunch of emails. But my question is, I know that you said you often watch social media as an admin of several pages and a moderator of several more who discuss city business. Do you ever see items that are heavily discussed and you seek out information to be able to provide for the public and you don't get it to be able to provide it?
I want to make sure I understand the question. You're asking whether I look for information and then don't get that information?
Yeah, so like you mentioned that sometimes the way that you get a topic is you're like, okay, I see that they're heavily discussing what's being built next to Burger King. Is there ever a time that you're like, hey, this is being heavily discussed, can you give me the info to share? And it's either not allowed to be shared at the time or you're just not given the info to be able to provide it to the public?
I can't tell you, no one's ever said I can't share information. I've been told that maybe we don't know yet. I don't have an answer for you yet, which is, but when I do, I'll let you know. But, like I'll see things like someone posted recently about a broken swing at a park or something like that. So I went to the Parks Department just as, hey, just so you know, someone posted, they're like, oh, I know, we're actually, the part's coming in a couple of days. We were aware of it. We're going to get it fixed. And you're able to provide that? And I was, we provided that information. So whenever I see anything like that, there is a formal way to submit concerns. There's a spot on our website, because I've done that with Public Works as well. They're like, there is a form, because we'll see things about, oh, this sign's down or this and that. We will let Public Works know. They'll go look into it. They're like, sometimes it's not even ours. It could be a county road. It could be, something. So they'll look into the situation, and then if we get some answers, then we will, whomever posted the information, we'll reach out to them and say, hey, just so you know, it's a county road, and Volusia's taking care of it.
And we have a question back here, but going back to the swing, it's interesting. So not only does Kat's office watch it, but we have another Kat in our building department, and that was related to an ADA issue, and she was watching it too. So several staff members could be watching the same bit of information that's out there.
I know that's for a fact, because it's like, oh, hey, so-and-so, and they're like, oh, yeah, someone's already told me about it. So, people are watching it, and they do want to take action. But to what, to your point, you might not always see, a certain post or whatnot on social media. So I would recommend the best way, if you have a concern, is to go to the website, deltonafl.gov, and there is a link there that you can, write a concern.
Oh.
Where people can write if they. And just so y'all,
Where people can write in a message or something, or a question.
And just so y'all know, is I'm personally not a fan of our website. We're actually undergoing a website redesign as we speak. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's gonna take a few months. But it's going to get much better. So
there you go. Contact us.
And then that will be sent to the proper department.
Okay. So we have a question back here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a two-parter, actually. What is the TV channel number for Spectrum?
It's 491 on Spectrum.
Thank you. And hurricane aftermath. A few years ago, we were out without power in my neighborhood for about 7 days. Television had nothing about Deltona. They had everything on Daytona Beach and Orlando, where to go for help, where to go for this, where the ice and all of that. And I'm just hoping that, Deltona is the biggest city in Volusia County. Perhaps we can have more information coming out afterwards, like how long will the shelters be open after the storm, where we can get ice, where we can get gasoline in Deltona itself, because, it was just hopeless. Why even bother with one of these battery radios when they're not even going to talk about us?
Well, and that goes, I guess, a two-part situation where that is our responsibility initially, using all of our, avenues of releasing information is to, all that information, sandbags, ice, whatever it may be, shelter information, to get that out to the public. But then I guess that's where my, I think, background is a benefit to the city, where I've worked with the media. I've worked several years, in this market, and just my entire career has been local media. So I know what they're looking, and I know that the media is in a situation like that. They are like knocking on doors, trying to get as much of that info, because they want to push out new information too. So just knowing that, I have to reach out to them directly to say, hey, Deltona's opening sandbag stations, or Deltona's opening up the shelters. And no, but that's what I'm saying. So even after the fact, it's like, hey, Deltona's still without power. Duke Energy is going to be out here. You guys might want to come out here and do a story. Or I know the coastline last hurricane season, obviously the emphasis was on the coastline because of that destruction. And that's why I reached out to the local media just most recently. It's like, people in Deltona are still affected by what happened last year. It's like, there's a story to be done here too. It's not just, Wilbur by the Sea. There's people here affected as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, and good point to bring up, Chaz, because she can bring that forward. We're going to be meeting together real soon, I think, with our fire chief, who will start getting ourselves ready for hurricane season and stuff, and she can bring that forward to them. Any other thoughts, questions, Robert, anybody?
Well,
Connie?
You got some more? To piggyback that, because I know, getting back to what you were saying about, do you see what people are talking about? I know there's been some talk on social media about the SENT plan, the emergency plan, and as a fairly new employee, it's like when I went online on our website to try to find it, it was like 2013, and I'm like, I replaced it. Just, so the 2018, so that was some information. I'm like, I didn't realize the old plan was up there. Right. And so I, found through Joyce and the fire chief, I think, they directed me to where the 2018 plan was. Okay. Got that posted over the 2013, so that's the newest one, and then we're working on the 2023 plan now.
Yeah, I think it's every 5 years it has to be updated. So, and that's what we've all been going through right now. Yep. So, and you may hear about that more with your fire chief in a few weeks. So, thoughts, questions, anybody else? Come on. Sir, oh, here we go, Robert.
Just a point of communication, I guess you're involved with that. Could you, when you come out with the agenda, could you at least put the person's name next to it and just saying city manager and city clerk, I mean, it would be nice to
on
have
the agenda. Okay, yeah, that's a
agenda.
Joyce thing. That's Joyce is the one that the city clerk.
Sorry.
City clerk. No, that's fine. No, she's the one that produces the
agendas.
The agenda. Reports.
Yep. So good. Are you wrapping up, or you
Yeah,
want
unless
some more
anybody has some more
any more questions? Okay. So let me. I'm just going to pick on. I think I'm going to pick on Scott. So Scott, what's a takeaway from Kat's presentation about public information?
Well, I wasn't aware of all the outlets that you use as far as YouTube and things like that. I don't have cable TV, so I can't watch Deltona TV live on that. I know I can watch it on the internet, but I didn't know I could go to like YouTube and watch past meetings and things like that. So that was good
so
to know.
just so you know, everything that we produce, that's, we'll put it, online like that. So you could go to YouTube directly. You could go to the city's website, click on DTV, and then all those avenues to watch things are listed there.
Great.
I think I'm going to ask Maria. Maria, what's a takeaway from Kat's presentation?
Well, it's good to know that they're getting more aware that Deltona should be covered a lot more. Because I have cable TV and all that, but like she was saying, that they were covering Deltona Beach, everywhere but Deltona. So it's good that they're doing that.
All right, Gigi, what's some feedback for us?
Well, I loved the videos that they've been posting, basically the updates. For me, I mean, I use social media all the time, and it's a great way to get a report card of all the departments and what's going on within the city. I mean, before you'd have to kind of like search to see what's going on. So the videos are super helpful and super quick, and you get to know a lot of information all at once. So those new videos that are coming out from the mayor, from different departments, favorite part right now. Yeah.
That's great, because we're all different learners. We receive the information differently. I don't do the videos, but I'll read that piece of paper, so that's great. So, kudos to Kat and her team for, again, she's come in 5 months ago and with her new vision, and I think we're heading in a great direction. All right. Well, thank you very much, Kat. We appreciate your time. So, yes, give a round of applause. Okay, so this is how it goes. So I hope you enjoyed it. I do want to just kind of do a couple of more things and give you a little snapshot of what's going to happen next week. Next week, 9 o'clock in this room, same place, same time, and we will be going over code compliance. We will have CDBG housing area, and we will have finance. So those will be your 3 areas. Just bear with us if for some reason something changes, but right now that's what's on deck, and we'll be in this room, and we'll come back together. Did everybody like it? Give me a yes, no, maybe? Yes. Okay. Because this is what yes, sir. You want to
hang on to this from week to week?
I'll keep your name tag. You take everything else in front of you, but I'll keep your name tag. That way you don't have to drag that around. But again, I thank you because I get to be your host. And again, my name is Suzette Cameron. Next week, I'll make sure you have my business card. I did not bring a stack of cards, but next week I will have them. It is an honor and a pleasure to serve you, as a employee for this city. I'm just really excited to get to know everybody. I've had some good conversations today and in the past, and just please be a part of your city, because it's because of you why we're here. Okay, have a good rest of the day. Take care.